Your brother was lost thanks to the deceit and treachery of your enemies.
Empress Hamam accomplished a lot in her 71 years. Hailing from a meager tribe in what would be modern-day Sudan, she restored the organized worship of the ancient Egyptian gods and cemented the rule of a new pharaonic dynasty in the medieval Nile Valley, finally ending centuries of foreign rule. Her passion in life, however, was her 12 children, some of whom would go on to rule in their own right. Raising that many kids is stressful though, which led her to develop a drinking habit and a taste for elaborate feasts, ultimately ingratiating her in the eyes of her more revelrous subjects even further. This is just one of the countless human stories that emerged organically over more than 100 hours I've already spent in Crusader Kings 3. And its marriage of the personal and the political, the grand and the intimate, is nothing short of glorious. Crusader Kings has always been a series about how individual characters and their interactions shape history, and this third installment finds new and intriguing ways to portray that. Like its predecessors, Crusader Kings 3 lets court drama, dynastic feuds, and marriage alliances underpin the more familiar grand strategy game tasks of constructing castles, researching technology, and waging war. A personal slight between two neighboring rulers can plunge the entire region into bloodshed and chaos worthy of a great historical fiction novel, while a well-planned betrothal can forge a mighty alliance and eventually unite kingdoms under one crown. Fundamentally, it's a game more about people than things, and that focus is what makes it truly special and memorable. Paradox Development Studio has deepened and expanded upon most of the key elements that made Crusader Kings 2 work. The stress system, which led our merry matriarch Hamam to find solace in the bottom of a bottle, is emblematic of this. In Crusader Kings 2, characters have personality traits that affect their stats, but they didn't do much to guide your behavior. In Crusader Kings 3, a cruel character will build up stress if you often offer your enemies mercy, while an honest one will chafe at dark dealings in the shadows. This encouraged me to roleplay the traits of my character rather than just seeing them as numerical modifiers, or live with the consequences of denying my natural tendencies, which I really enjoyed. Understandably, it doesn't feel as broadly fleshed out as its predecessor, which has had the benefit of 7 years and hundreds of dollars worth of expansions, but it's well on its way. Stress never felt like it railroaded me into a specific kind of behavior, though. Accumulating too much leads to a mental break, which offers the choice of a couple different coping mechanisms you can adopt to deal with the strain of ruling a medieval realm. Whether it's drinking, fighting, or frequenting the brothels, each of these provides authentic feeling character development and introduces new opportunities for drama and conflict. Hamam's love of booze led her to make new friends with other magnates who shared her favored pastime. But developing a temper could lead to you punching out a priest and upsetting the Pope, which is generally a bad idea in this time period. Of course, due to the in-depth, free-form new religion system, you can always bid farewell to religious doctrine that no longer suits you. You can create a new heresy of Catholicism that, for instance, exalts cannibalism, believes in reincarnation, and allows only women to become priests. Everything is customizable, from the role of the clergy to views on witchcraft and homosexuality. The possibilities are practically limitless and allow you to customize your experience and leave your mark on the world in very satisfying ways that were never possible in the previous games. Medieval dynastic politics would be nothing without a little cloak and dagger, and this is another area where Crusader Kings 3 has gone all out. A new system of secrets and hooks allows you to gain leverage over other characters by, for instance, discovering and threatening to expose an extramarital affair. It feels rewarding and viable to work solely in the shadows, building your base of power through trading favors, manipulating the careless, and assassinating those who are too inconvenient to your schemes. Most of the same results were achievable in Crusader Kings 2, but the way you get there is so much richer and more hands-on now. Warfare has some strong new ideas too. Battle resolution is much more sensible and readable, with an advantage bar that shows you who has the upper hand at any given moment. The addition of knights gives individual named warriors a bigger role to play in turning the tide, and more opportunities for personal stories to emerge from the din of clashing steel. But the logistics of conducting a campaign of conquest could still use some work. In an effort to cut down on the micromanagement that bogs down Crusader Kings 2 at times, Crusader Kings 3 has all of your armies arrive at a designated rally point as a single force, rather than raising dozens of small stacks from their home counties and having them merge together. The problem is it doesn't always split the troops up evenly like it's seemingly meant to, and I ended up doing just as much micromanagement sometimes to make sure my forces were evenly distributed and not suffering losses from attrition. This is partly alleviated by the fact that there's so much to do besides marching armies around, and all of that is done so well. But it's the one major thing I'd really want to see improved, and luckily Paradox has a rock-solid history of polishing its games for years after launch. Crusader Kings 3 is a superb strategy game, a great RPG, and a masterclass in how to take the best parts of an existing system and make them deeper and better. I have thousands of hours in the previous game, and I expect to spend at least that many in this third installment. All of the engrossingly flawed characters and stories of love, war, triumph, and loss that have already dynamically emerged from my playthroughs feel like just the beginning of something legendary. In fact, if I had to pick only one game to play for the rest of my life, the decision wouldn't be that difficult. A new king of historical strategy has been crowned. Long live the king! I have so much more to say about this game than I could fit into this video, so if you're intrigued, I urge you to check out my written review on IGN.com for much more detail.
Keep your enemies close. The first step in avoiding the trap is knowing it is there.